Have you ever wanted to carry around a 188-inch TV that only weighs 74 grams? Well, now you can. And I know what you're thinking, damn Rob, you look good. And you're not wrong, but let's keep this review about the glasses, which are the STARV VIEW by Meizu. Let's quickly go over what you get in the box. So of course you get your glasses, you also get a Type-C to Type-C transfer cable, and you also get a carry case. What I found really cool was the Type-C cable actually has a secret pouch within the carry case, so you can carry the glasses and your cable all together. I just found that really convenient. Now let's look at design and comfort. Straight out of the box with the carry case, the quality is high, and that does transfer to the glasses themselves. Even though the arms are made out of plastic and they don't necessarily feel super premium, the actual lenses themselves have a little weight to them, and they do feel very strong, very well made, and especially around the hinges, I have no worries whatsoever because they don't feel flimsy at all. They do feel very strong, and I don't have any problems adjusting them or moving them around. I feel like they will last, especially quite a number of years of use with no problems whatsoever. They also have these real soft cushions for your nose. It might be a little bit too soft with little padding. A little bit more padding would maybe be a little bit more beneficial to other nose shapes and types. For mine, perfect, no problems whatsoever. The weight of 74 grams, I actually measured it about 75, 76 grams, but around about there. It's not super heavy, so you don't necessarily notice it, especially if you're using it for an hour or two. After that point, it might get a little bit more irritating to have a little bit more weight on the front of your face for a long period of time, but especially in the short term, it's actually not bad at all. You actually don't notice it after wearing it for like 5 minutes, so that's pretty good. Now let's talk about the visuals. This has a massive 188-inch display, which is vibrant, it's colorful, it's just beautiful. And it has a refresh rate of 120 Hz, which is obviously really good for gaming and anything like that you might use it for. It has a resolution of 1080p. It might not sound a lot with everything being 4K right now, but with most content you're going to watch on this, 1080p is more than enough. It is sharp, it is clear, and everything I've watched on it has been absolutely fine. Now, it also comes with 700 nits of brightness. Once again, with smartphones on the market right now being 2000, 3000 or even 4000 nits of peak brightness, it once again doesn't sound a lot, but I've tested this outside in a very sunny condition. It's like 32 degrees Celsius right now in the UK, and that's roughly about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Really bright, really sunny, and I've not had any issues watching all the content I have on these outside. I've tried to actually pick angles to make it harder to see with the sun coming through, but it's been absolutely fine in all conditions. So inside and out, these are fantastic. Now let's talk about the sound. It has two speakers that point down at your ears, and the drivers aren't necessarily big enough to give a bassy note. So for explosions or rumblings, it won't necessarily give you the depth of a really good high-end speaker, but it is clear enough that it gives you that decent sound. So when watching something, you won't be taken out of the experience. You'll hear everything clearly, and I've actually been impressed by the sound quality of these speakers, maybe because my expectations were very low from glasses that have speakers in them, but they're actually pretty decent, and you can get away with watching any content you want to a decent level. For the volume, they can get pretty high, and they do a really good job of angling and focusing the sound to your ears. So in terms of other people being able to hear what you're listening to, that's quite minimal. Unless they're quite close and it's a very quiet surrounding, that's the only way they'll be able to hear. Otherwise, if you have it at a medium level to a lower level, it'll be almost impossible for other people to hear what you're listening to, which I think is actually really clever. Now let's talk about features. These glasses have loads of features, starting with anyone can wear these. Well, maybe not blind people, but basically anyone can wear these. And what I mean by that is if you have prescription glasses, typically what you might experience is if you went to a movie that has a 3D glasses experience, you'll have to wear those glasses on top of your glasses to be able to experience the movie how you're intended to. And also with VR and AR glasses on the market, a bunch of them, you have to do something similar. You have to wear your glasses and then their glasses on top, which is super uncomfortable. It doesn't fit well. It doesn't really work well. There are some on the market where you can go to your optician and get specific lenses made to fit inside the VR or AR glasses to be able to use them. Once again, that's more money and it's a massive faff to make it work. These, the V-Star Views, they have these dials on the top where you can change these numbers to match your prescription. So you don't need to wear any other glasses. You just wear these and you can see clearly. That is a game changer. Number one, it saves on costs, it saves on time, and it's just so much more convenient to just dial these in to make it seem clear, and then boom, you go, you watch them. Amazing feature. There is also a whole bunch of features you can adjust via an app. It's the Meizu app, and you can adjust the mode. It has 3 different modes, a pro mode, a movie mode, and a dim mode. Somewhat self-explanatory. I personally use the movie mode because I like the color balance with that one the best, and also I'll be typically watching movies on these glasses most of the time. You can also adjust the brightness and your volume, but you can do that on the glasses themselves. It has a volume rocker, and you can adjust the dimness or the brightness by pressing and holding the up and down button at the same time, and it will adjust it dimmer each time, and it has 10 levels. And if you let go and then press and hold again, both the up and down, it'll then go up in brightness all the way, like I said, to the 10 different levels to the brightest it can do at 700 nits. It also has a power button. If you press and hold this, it brings up your AI assistant. Now this for Android is Gemini. I don't use Gemini too often, so I necessarily won't use this too often as well, and I can't necessarily see a scenario where I might want to ask my AI assistant via my glasses because they would have to be plugged into my phone for that to work. But if you are watching a movie and you did have a question and you didn't want to pull out your phone, you could ask it then and there by pressing it down and holding this button. So basically, this is just an external monitor. It needs another device to power it and also to cast to it for it to be able to work. It doesn't have any internal batteries or internal components for it to work independently. You need another device for it to be able to work. And not all devices are compatible. I tested 4 different smartphones and only one of them worked, which was my OnePlus 13. They do have a compatible list, so do check that to see if your device will work with these glasses before buying. Now, before we wrap up, a few things I wanted to mention. Firstly, with 120Hz refresh rate, 1080p screen, these are perfect for gaming. But to use them for gaming, you need an adapter. You won't be able to use them outside of the box. You need to buy an adapter which is HDMI to Type-C that allows power throughput. So that's even more cost and more waiting to be able to use these for gaming. And I haven't been able to test it, but on paper it should work, and also 120Hz refresh rate, it should be pretty good. Also, where you think these might be good is using them with a laptop, for instance, to have a much bigger monitor. So I'm someone who uses multiple monitors, but to have one massive one where I can put all my windows on one screen, it sounds ideal. In reality, it doesn't quite work that way because the screen is quite far away, so you can't necessarily see anything clear until you expand it. So to have multiple windows, it's not as good as you think. It doesn't work as well as just having monitors closer to you and more of them. So, and also another little caveat to that is when you're wearing the glasses, because it kind of cuts out your field of view, and also of course has these dark dimming segments around your eyes to obviously look like sunglasses, you can see through them, but it's very difficult, and I can see till about here where it becomes a little bit easier to see, but it's still darkened and dimmed by the actual sunglass frames themselves. So for me to use this, I have to sort of like look down or at least push up the glasses to be able to see my keyboard and mouse if I needed to see them. So unless you are an amazing touch typer and someone who doesn't ever need to look down for anything when using their laptop for work, these could work, but like I said, even with the bigger screen, it's not ideal. And just a few little nitty gritty cons. Number one is when you are watching something with these glasses, someone can see what you're watching because it does have a reversed reflection on the actual lenses at the front itself. So that's not great. It also is a massive fingerprint magnet on the screen lenses on the front and also the lenses in which you watch it for. So do very much be careful when touching it. The outside isn't as important. It just looks really dirty and really grimy very quickly because of that fingerprint magnet. And then lastly, the cable length. It's a decent sort of size and it does obviously have to fit in the case, but it is also limiting. So if it is something that I wanted to use a laptop one side of my desk and maybe the other, it is just way too short to be able to do that. So you will need to be able to buy another cable which can obviously transfer that image and also power that device at the same time. So that is possible, but it's just something small little con to mention. So if I don't use it for gaming because I don't have the adapter and I don't like using it with my laptop, the only next logical thing to use it with would be my phone. And this is actually the Xiaomi 14T Pro, which I will be reviewing in a new video in the future, so make sure to subscribe for that. But if I do use it with like the OnePlus because that's compatible, the problem I find is you need the OnePlus screen on while casting. If you turn your phone off, it will stop casting. So I'll have to have these on while my phone's on the entire time. So for battery, that's not great. And also it's a little bit distracting when I have the glasses on, and because of the length of the cable not being necessarily the longest, I can see my phone in my field of view and I can see the screen on playing the same thing I'm seeing on the glasses. So it's a little bit distracting, and also I can't necessarily think of a case where I'm like, oh, I have my phone and if I put my phone this close it seems like a really big screen, whereas I want to actually wear the glasses instead and have my phone on in the background. Now that being said, I can think of a few scenarios where I would use these glasses. Number one, I was watching TV the other day in my bedroom and the power went out for my TV. So I ended up watching TV on my phone like this, and when you're in bed, your phone gets a little bit heavy after a while and I can't be asked to hold it. Then I remembered I had these glasses and they came in clutch because it was much easier that I could just have my arms resting and wearing them. And it was just so much easier to watch TV like this than holding up my phone. So that scenario can be quite good. And apart from that scenario you just quickly saw, another scenario would be on a plane, for instance, because in theory it would make so much sense to be able to wear these on a plane, see a massive screen, watch anything you want saved on your phone. The only issue I see with that is the sound. Because this is open ear, this is just open noise around your ear. With the noise of planes, I find even with good earbuds, maybe not with noise cancelling, just regular earbuds, I need the volume pretty loud to drown out the sound of the plane. Not just people talking, but just the plane noise itself. I don't think these will be loud enough to have a listening experience where I can hear everything clearly and try to block out the sound of the plane. I think something in-ear would be so much better, and in that case I'll rather just watch on my phone with a stand and then put these to one side and just use earbuds. So I find it very hard to think of scenarios where I would use these, but I would love to know what you guys think of these. Is there a scenario which I'm missing which these would be fantastic for? Let me know in the comments down below. Would you go and get a pair of these? Would you already have a pair of these? And let me know what your experience is. Other than that, guys, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.